Hey guys, welcome back. Before we get into this video, I wanted to preface it by saying this is almost a direct sequel in a lot of ways to the I Am a Huntress video, and the reason it's so late is because I wanted to get this up on either the DFL or the Pixelkin website as an article or a video, since I have friends there, and I think this would also go really well with both of those audiences. But I wanted to see if I could get it up as my own video too, because it was such a direct companion to I Am a Huntress. However, through various things, time and the fact that we're all gamers, it kept getting delayed, and I kept talking to people and nothing really came of it. So I'm going to upload this. Hopefully you get to see it on Pixelkin at some point. That'd be really nice. But I'm not too worried about it. The other thing I want to add is that since I made this video, and since I made I Am a Huntress, and before I made I Am a Huntress, there has been so much toxicity and so much anger in the gaming community in ways that is really depressing. This video is still very important, and it's going to touch on topics that have become even more sensitive than they were when I wrote it. So here it goes. It's sad to see. It hurts me, especially if you watch the newest Tales of Life that I just put up. After seeing kids, little girls and little boys playing board games with their families and their friends, it hurts so much to see that much anger and toxicity in the community. Anyway, on to the real video. I just wanted to get some extra stuff out of the way. I'm not me. I'm not the hero. I'm not white. I'm not the male ideal. I lack the chiseled jawline. I lack the rippling muscles. I lack the hordes of women fighting for my attention. I'm not brooding and mysterious as the anti-hero should be. I am not me. I am not the hero. Welcome to my second sidetrack. As I stated in the prologue, it's a really close follow-up to I Am a Huntress and Here's Why, in which I talk about crossplay, which I learned the term of in the time it took me to make this video and that video. This one's a bit more traditional. It's diversity in games and media, and how it personally affects me. I'm heterosexual, cis, male. I grew up as part of the upper middle class in the west coast of the United States. Sure, I'm a geek, but when I was growing up, being a geek wasn't uncool. It was that, and then it became cool when I hit high school. I never really got bullied for my tastes. I always had a good group of friends. The popular kids at most of my schools were in band and drama nerds, and they were also the class president and people who were amazingly smart. And I have great friends across the LGBTQ spectrum and from all sorts of cultural backgrounds. And yet, I'm not white, and it matters. I'm going to use Mass Effect as my whipping boy, and with that said, I want it to be clear, I love the series. I love the world, I love the characters, most of them. I love everything about it. I've played Mass Effect 1 easily 15 times, ME2 something like 10 times, and Mass Effect 3 2 or 3 times. I got older, I had less free time, I was in school. But I played Mass Effect 3 until I burst a blood vessel in my eye. Straight, during finals week. But it's because I love it so much that this series is also where I first noticed all of this revelation. For a long time it didn't matter to me. I never encountered a problem. Both my parents speak English, as does most of my extended family. Sure, I have a different set of basic staple foods that I grew up with, beans and tortillas and fajitas and tacos, and I'm not Mexican. If you call me Mexican, it's very annoying. That's the very common thing. Most of my extended family speaks Spanish. I got made fun of for being a Canadian way more than I ever did for being a Latino. Other than being called a Mexican all the time, because apparently that's the only Spanish-speaking country Americans could think of. But over the last few years, as I went to university and I started to learn more about myself, I kept hitting a conflict that my brain just didn't resolve, and I didn't know what it was. I grew up on fantasy and science fiction writing. And I'm enough of a romantic that I like to think of myself as a knight or a hero to be. There was just one small problem. This is what a hero is to me. To this day, that picture of John Shepherd is closer to my mental image of myself than to the one that stares back at me in the mirror every day. Every time I shave, every time. And it's finally starting to hurt. Women have it worse. This is not an article or a video meant to take away attention from that discussion. This is a discussion that needs to happen alongside it. And I'm not just talking about Latinos in media, in games specifically. I'm talking about the Western male ideal as a whole, as well as Latinos in media and games. There are no shortage of articles out there about the harmful female beauty and social standards that are reinforced by the media and games and everything else. But so very few that talk about how equally ridiculous those standards are set for men, not in the least without trying to dismiss the other half of the conversation out of hand. Not just go, that's a problem, and so is this. John Shepherd, as the default Commander Shepard is known, is a very different character for everyone who plays him, and Commander Shepard is a widely different character for every person, since most people customized him. But John Shepherd, the default Shepherd, is the same physically appearance. A chiseled jawline, a symmetrical face, most of the time, with rock-hard abs, bulging biceps, and solid pecs. This is hardly his fault. Ryu from Street Fighter, John Marston from Red Dead, Hercules from Greek mythology, Achilles from the Iliad, Romulus from Roman mythology. Heroes are supposed to be more than you can be, to inspire and drive you forward, to reach that goal. But what changes is when the hero stops being a hero and starts becoming what you should be, not what you should inspire to be. It's a slight semantic difference, but it makes a world of difference. On the latter, you have a goal. Never reachable, but the journey itself enhances you. With the former, if you aren't of that appearance, you are in the wrong. The ideal has become synonymous with the hero to me, and because I realized it, my self-confidence in my appearance has begun to erode. What I see in the mirror is so far and different from everything I'm told the hero, the protagonist, should be that I can't be them. I admire Marston, Paragon Shepherd, and so many other characters for specific expressions of ideals that their characters exhibit. Honor, chivalry, respect, bravery, self-sacrifice, defense of the innocent. That the lack of ability to appear as them starts telling me that the ideals that I admire aren't something I can have. I tried a replay of Mass Effect with Commander Shepard, who I tailored to look like me, mostly, and nothing. I had no connection with him, in any way. Admittedly, this could be because I played Mass Effect so many times as John Shepherd, that is the Shepherd of my mental image, but it was still surprising to me. That was the moment when I realized this was a thing that was affecting me. Was when I stared at essentially a mirror of this character who I know would be the same character, and it wasn't right. He didn't seem right. It's hard to measure how this sort of body image issue has actually affected my life, especially since I am a guy, I am cis and male, and heterosexual. It hasn't affected me nearly as much as it's affected so many other people in so many other ways. But I'm sure it has something to do with my often introversion around new people, and a big part of how I quite honestly have come to hate pictures of myself within the last 2 years. It's partially a motivating factor to start exercising, start eating better, and start getting healthier, which admittedly I haven't done frequently enough or healthy enough in the last few years, which is a good thing, depending on how I internalize that motivation. But I shy away from new social scenarios or spend half a mask with my mind on the gut that I'm sure I have that everybody else is noticing, instead of the pretty girl in the gown that I should be focusing on. Now let's talk about the other thing that doesn't work with John Shepherd, John Marston, Nathan Drake, and so many other game heroes. Ethnicity. And the lack of Latinos in the discussion. There is so much discussion about how African Americans lack proper positive representation. Less, but still a lot, still some about Native American representation. The new Infamous game gets a lot of props for that. But the discussion on Latinos seems muted, or drowned underneath the focus on African Americans. New American Media, a site that networks ethnic news organizations, claims that 3% of video game characters are recognized as Latino. Of that 3%, only 5% are playable characters. Despite this, Latinos make up a large portion of the game industry, with 7.8 million buying games in 2012, and Latinos being 54% more likely to buy games on day one than other ethnic groups. We so often get criminals, drug lords, and mercenaries to represent us. It's painful. And even within those characters, it's almost always Mexican or South American, with no acknowledgement of the nuances of the culture. And they're either gangsters or crime lords, respectively, or drug lords, respectively. Characters that are good range from James Vega in Mass Effect 3, who is a walking bundle of the most machismo stereotypes known to man, but he's still a positive role model. My favorite, personally, is Cortez, your gay shuttle pilot from Mass Effect 3, who is really a very good example of everything, in so many ways. I'm Latino by ethnicity, but Pacific Northwesterner by culture, so I don't need an in-depth examination of various Latino and Hispanic cultures to feel connected to a character who at least shares the same ethnicity as me. That doesn't mean I don't want it, and it doesn't mean that I'm tired of being either Mexican or Colombian, a Colombian drug lord, in a video game. I welcome and applaud any character, or any game, or even any major media that explores Latino and Hispanic culture and decries the fact that Mexican seems to mean Latino and Hispanic to so many people. My story is just a small piece of a much larger and endemic problem within the game industry, and a larger cultural problem, but it is my story, and it's thusly important. I think the conversation that is being had at all angles of the diversity and physical standards in media is invaluable to enacting a broader change for all groups, but as a Latino, I think that mine is a voice often not heard in these circles. Thank you for watching.